What was behind your conscientious objection position?
Well, I was a Baha'i. I'm a Baha'i. That's my religion, and it's we register that way, but it's a slightly different take on it than most people who did the conscientious objectors. We were willing to go. We're not against uh, any sort of military action, not against the military. It has a place.
Right.
Um, Being in a role of aggression is what we're not interested in. We're willing to protect the patient with a weapon. So I carried a sidearm, by the way. I carried a P38, Smith and Wesson 38 police special. The idea is that if you're in a situation where I would be irresponsible not to protect my patient or the people that are on the crew. I mean, we're out in a hot LZ and people are shooting at us. Not that I would be able to see anybody who's shooting at us. That's the odd thing.
Mm.
And I never saw a North Vietnamese or a Viet Cong or anything like that. I mean, you don't see them. They're hiding. That's the whole idea about war.
Wow.
So it would be totally worthless for me to actually have the thing. But I was ready in case something weird happened. But I would have used it.
Yeah, so
I, I, I was ready to use it when I was shot down.
you were ready to use the pistol that you had or some other
Yeah.
weapon.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I had the pistol, but I couldn't use my right hand because my arm was shot up.
do you have any recollections of the flight to Vietnam? I know it's more than one, as you have various steps on the way from the States to South Vietnam. Any recollections of the travel there, of what it felt like on the plane, of things you remember about the flight?
On the flight, the last flight was going into Benoit. That's near Long Binh, near Saigon area. And that I remember flying over and looking out of the window as we hit land. And we flew quite a long time over this moonscape of shell holes. And that impressed me.
As you're flying into Benoit, you see those bomb craters. How would you describe your own state of mind? Excitement about the adventure to come, anxiety, combination of both, indifference?
Probably neither. I just thought I looked out. I thought, gee, those were probably made by Americans, so it wasn't going to be. I wouldn't have experienced it, but somebody else did. I thought, gee, golly, whoever was down there had a bad time with it. But
Wow.
it went on for a long time. It wasn't just a glimpse. I watched it. I don't know how many minutes, but quite a long time until we came into the light flight pattern, the landing pattern. Well, I was assigned to the 67th Evac Hospital in Quang Nhân, and that was a rural stateside hospital with incredible facilities there for the time. And so they took me around. I think the second day I was there, they took me around to the different wards. I remember going on to the intensive ICU, and it was a surgical ICU, not medical ICU. And there was a guy who was really messed up badly physically. It was a lot of extremity wounds, and chest wounds, and stuff like that. And I didn't freak out or anything. So I think that's why they decided to put me on the intensive care ward. So I was medic on the intensive care ward. They call us bedpan commandos. I mean, this is,
Hmm.
and so uh, do bedpan things and take vital signs, distribute medications. It was a secure area. It didn't feel like a war very much, except that you had to go through.
Well,
Uh,
this question isn't designed to, get gruesome details, but what kind of wounds are you seeing?
oh gosh, well, the total variety of combat wounds, but we didn't have any Koreans in that thing. Koreans had very good hospitals, so they never saw a Korean in that. But we did have, well, obviously there's Americans and Vietnamese civilians. Gunshot wounds, traffic accidents, burns. Um, there were all sorts of horrible things that happened in villages just by accident.
As you're doing your work, are you interacting with the folks who are in the hospital? I mean, the combatants
Patients?
are going to be primarily men, but then you're going to have women who things have happened to them as well. Are you interacting with them?
Oh yeah, as much as I could. I couldn't. Very few Vietnamese. I obviously didn't speak any Vietnamese.
Or,
Um, I picked up a few words here and there, but
right.
especially Dao Wa, which means I heard a lot. You learn things like that.
Well,
But with the Americans, it depends on how badly they were hurt because I was on intensive care, so they're not very talkative.
do you have
And
any recollections of any particular interactions?
well, one of them was with a friend of mine, an odd situation, which was another trauma for me, which I think I can get through it. Um, he was a friend of mine who was playing cards with another guy in his barracks, and they got in an argument. The other guy pulled out a 45 and shot him in the abdomen,
Good grief.
and he ended up on the intensive care ward, and he eventually died, which was, processing that. I remember trying to process that in my mind. What's going on here? That's not supposed to happen.
Wow.
No.
So I'm interested because you know, you had these religious spiritual beliefs that led you to be a conscientious objector. I'm thinking of, a couple different ways this could go for a person who's seeing what you're seeing. And I'm thinking especially of the war wounds, the combat wounds. And one response, which would make sense to me, just given human psychology, would be anger, and you know, maybe I'll see if I can get a job where I can go, take it to the enemy, a kind of revenge thing. Another response could be, given your situation, confirmation that the path you're on really is the better path, that the world would be a better place if we could, promote more unity and helpfulness rather than do things that lead to the kind of stuff you're seeing in this intensive care ward. Just as you hear me say this, I mean, what goes through your mind? I'm just interested in how you're, in your own mind, how you're responding to what you're seeing.
Oh, I wish I had been a little more mature at the time. It was 19.
Mm,
Uh, I didn't have any anger. That wasn't didn't generate any anger. I was mostly just taking it in and trying to process it, trying to figure out where I was standing, where I was. It was a little girl. I think she was probably 6 or 7. She had been in a traffic accident. A convoy was going by. I don't know any more of the details than that, except that the physical ones was a lot of the outer flesh had been torn off her right arm and off her right leg when she came in. Uh, that was too complex surgery and too difficult to deal with in the Vietnamese hospitals. That's why we had the civilians we had in there.
mm.
And she was somebody had given her popcorn, and she liked popcorn. She learned the word popcorn. She was going popcorn when she wanted it. And so you develop an emotional thing. So I was very empathetic at the time. Tragic, the whole thing, and I had to do things with her. And um, it got worse, so they amputated either the right leg or the right arm. I can't remember what. And then went back and they removed the other one. So she was missing a right arm, like right leg. And by that time, she had developed double pneumonia. And one of the days, I don't have a good timeline on this, but they said we don't expect her to live past our shift. And so she was going popcorn, popcorn,
Mm.
and it was just almost only bubbles that was coming out. And the nurse got upset, and she said, Treadwell, do a tracheal suction on her. I've no training on that. That's way beyond what I'm supposed to do. So I did it. She died.
Mm.
She took her. She took her last breath in front of me.